Sit down. Stand up.
Oh, okay.
Relax. Have a drink. Have two. Bring me one. I haven't spoken yet. Da da da.
Uncle Igor, tell us a story.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear why the hell we are sitting here.
Somebody used that line a few minutes ago.
You know, Stan, I told Volodya the success of this story tonight is going to depend on how many times you interrupt me.
First one.
And not in a positive number. That's right. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it was a long, long time ago. You see the white in my beard. You see the creak in my body. You see the fact that I'm now retired.
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, I'm retired.
For the bona fides of the ancientness of when I was a young man and I first came to Pennsic. And we all know what happened when we were young and we first came to Pennsic. We slept upon the ground and we liked it. We had no food court. We ate what we found by the side of the road, and we liked it. We didn't have refrigerators and coolers. We chipped a hole in the glacier out back and stored our food, and we liked it. On the very shores of Cooper's Lake, what did I find? But an ancient slab. Grimy, slimy. I think the two trucks have been there at some point.
Did you say ancient slab or ancient slob?
And I cleaned it off, and what should I see written upon it but ancient Ogham, the script of the Celts. And it revealed to me the sacred words of why there is a Celtic happy hour. Listen to me. It was a long time ago, much further away than when we came to these lands, that the Celts lived in peace and harmony, and they had their druids, and they had their fairies, and they had their other people, and their swords, and their cattle raids, and their limed hair, and everything that they did, and they were happy people. Then along came the Romans. And the Romans were strong, clad in bronze armor, with steel swords against the bronze swords of the Celts. And though mighty and fierce were the Celts and strong were the Celts, they soon realized that they would not be able to hold the sacred lands of Britain, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, Brydain, the blessed land of the Celts, against the Romans. So the Druids hit upon a plan. And they gathered themselves into a conclave, much like what we are doing here, only they were a little thinner and younger and didn't have so much booze. And they conclaved and they decided that, well, they had heard of a land far to the west. And they would take their sacred objects far to the west, and their sacred people, the Druids, and their people, and travel in their hide boats and rafts and whatever. They would challenge the seas rather than try to challenge the Romans, who were so vicious.
Oh.
Yes, Maximus Vicious. He was the Roman general who went against them. And so they gathered together and, well, I must backtrack. Because what many of you don't know about the Celts was that, well, you've seen Stonehenge and Avebury and all the standing stones. But what has been lost to antiquity, which was revealed to me by the stone that I found here on Cooper's Lake, was the fact that the standing stones, as is mimicked by our gate, were nothing more than a singles bar. You see the base, where you can see the line drawn there, was sunk down into the earth to give stability to the stones. And if you go to Avebury, or if you go to, what's that place? Stonehenge. Tourist trap. If you go to the tourist trap at Stonehenge, and you look about 4 feet down from the top, inside the stones, there are 2 holes drilled. Those holes are for the bronze rail that went across. Because the Celts sank that sacred stela into the ground to be firm, because they worshiped the earth. They also worshiped the sky. So when they stood at the sacred stela, which was now much sunk, they had 1 foot on the ground in honor of the gods of the earth. And they raised 1 foot. They raised 1 foot up like this and put it on the bronze rail to worship the god of the sky. And they would stand there, and libations, sacred libations, would be poured into chalices. Where are the chalices? We have chalices. Bring forth the chalices. The libations were from the sacred agave plant, which grew all over Celtic Britain. And they took with them to this world in the west that they found. Every bit, because it was sacred. They did not want the Romans to find a bit of it. And from that sacred agave plant, they made the sacred tequila. But the sacred tequila was too potent for the populace to imbibe on a regular basis, all by itself. So, the Celts in Spain sent them oranges and limes and lemons. And they squoze the limes and the lemons. And they added them to the tequila. And they made the sacred margarita. Mar being the Proto-Indo-European root for sea, gar, meaning spear, and ita, being a diminutive ending. So the Mar-gar ita was the little spear of the sea. And anyone who has drunk a margarita can feel the spear of the sea. And around the rim of their vessels, they put the sacred salt to mimic the sea, because it was the Mar-garita. But that in and of itself was not enough, because with the sacred libation, there came a craving. An awful craving, a craving of the soul, a craving for the nacho. Now the nacho was made from the sacred maize, which means yellow stuff. And it was ground and pounded and fried and possibly hairy and spit upon. Oh, well, it was old times. And they shaped it like the orb of the sun, which we see back here at the precise proper time. The orb of the sun. And to mimic the fire of the sun, they took the sacred jalapeno, which they also took along with the maize and the agave. You got it. And at the precise time, as the sun began to disappear down below the horizon, the most sacred time in the Celt's life, the hour of great joy, or as what we would now translate it to as the happy hour. They would dip the orb of the sun into the fire of the jalapeno, and you notice, you see the red of the setting sun on the yellow of the dying sun. And they would stand 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot raised on the bronze to heaven, and imbibe the nacho, drink the margarita, and that was Celtic happy hour. Drink! Oh, I forgot the soul side. Yeah, the soul. Yeah, the soul side. Yeah,
it's good. Eat it.
Dip of the sun. Well, you know.
And also, please do not eat of the triangular
Heresy!
That's right.
Heresy!
No triangular heresies.
No triangular heresy.
Now, what about the sect that forms the nacho into the scoop?
That is round. It is still round.
It is still round. All right. So it is off.
The nacho is the withered scoop. The scoop is the withered nacho of age. It is more sacred because it is old and it's wrinkled. No, we do. Hey, there's also bean dip. Did you get that? I don't know how many hits that's going to get, but I want money.
A whole pile of them.